Select queries are used for retrieving data from tables. In a select statement, after the select clause, we need to list the name of the columns separated by comma, followed by the from clause, after which we reference the name of the table we are retrieving the data from. In this example here, we are selecting student ID, first name, and last name columns from the table student. Note that after the last column, which is the last name in this query, we don't need to put a comma. You can see that after running this query, we get 999 rows in our results set. This means that this query returns all the records stored in our table. This is very important because in most cases we have no idea how many rows or records we have in our table, and if we have too much data or too many records in our table, this can cause a problem. You can crash your computer or the computer on which you are running the database if you are pulling too much data, so many records from a table. Therefore, always cautious with select queries that do not have a where clause or any way to filter the data. One way to limit the number of records that a select query returns is to use limit clause. Limit comes at the end of the query. For example, in this query, if I just want to see the 10 first rows stored in this table, I can add limit 10 at the end of the query, and then after running this query, I only get 10 rows. Running this query is much faster than running the previous query because it only returns 10 rows, and it's a lot safer. So when you have no idea how many rows of data you have in your table, you should always limit the result set using the limit keyword. Also, you can use select queries, and instead of listing the columns you want, you can use the asterisk or star character to include all the columns in your table in the result set. For example, if I do select asterisk from student limit 10, this query still returns only the first 10 rows stored in the student table. However, it will include all the columns I have in my table. You can see that in the student table, I have student ID, first name, last name, and email columns. This is also a very quick way of listing all the columns we have in a table. Always remember that select queries do not perform any sorting by default. In most cases, when you run a select query without an order by clause, the results will be retrieved by the order at which the data is stored in the database. However, most databases do not guarantee that they would preserve the order by which the data is stored in the tables. So always be careful with select queries and do not rely on the order by which the data is displayed in the output.